Hey guys, how you all doing? It's Uncle Red at your service, and I'd like to actually present an apology update though about Amiya's Jeopardy. It would seem as though that while I was working on roulette mode, I found some real bug problems that's been driving me crazy. Back then though, whenever I actually post blogs though over on my website though, I've been posting updates though as to what the bug problems have always been, and trying to actually patch it up so that way the game does not get bugs again and again and again. Therefore, I'm going to explain though the reason why as an apology as to why I keep running into these bugs and trying to actually fix it as much as possible. So we're going to do what's known as the bug problems found, and how am I supposed to actually fix it. Let me actually explain. First off, how it should play normally is sort of like a flowchart. This is exactly what the flowchart really is. It's sort of like how you play it in Jeopardy. But because we're in RPG Maker, it's a little different. We'll start off with room A. That's where in this room, you have to actually pick one of the two categories because it's solo mode. It's not yet in trio mode or quad mode, just solo mode and dual mode. The player chooses which one of those two categories, and then next the player will be sent over to the next room, which is a transport, so that way the player can actually choose one of these points. Like always though, the player has to choose between 1 to 10 points for solo and dual mode, or the player could choose 1 to 5 points for trio and quad mode. And after they actually pick the point, then the display answers will show up onto the bottom screen. The display answers will display what this noun does, what does it look like, and how it does it, or what does it do. After that's done, then the multi-choice questions will appear on the right screen, and will also display a repeat it again. Because after picking repeat it again, it goes back to display answer in case the player needs help trying to remember it, and then back to this. Now regardless though, right or wrong, I did put in a code to where what the real question is, the right one, while the others get the wrong one. And based on the points, choosing the correct answer will get the player the correct point, while the incorrect answer, or the incorrect question, the player loses a point. And then takes the player back to room A. Now, what's been causing this bug problem? So the thing is, I do want to address this out though. While I was watching Amiya stream, Amiya got really lucky, because apparently there were no bug problems. While I was working on roulette mode for a bit though, trying to look through what possible answers to put into roulette mode, all of a sudden though, I noticed it in the Mario category because it's a demo. Some of it were completely bugged every time. So every time though you go to the room, you always go in the room. It's always been room B, which goes into a single loop, or it could be one of the points that's actually causing the room to go to a loop and does not display it. Because every time though the answer is supposed to be displayed properly, it doesn't even display it. Instead, it keeps going back to room A, or it will keep going to room B over and over and over in a loop. The others are okay. Room A is okay, categories are okay, even the correct and incorrects are actually patched. They're safe. So now, let's get to the real problem. Let's check these little bug problems, shall we? First off, bug problem number 1, selecting points. Because we're in room B, these 1 through 10 points, because we're in solo mode, it's a demo, the player chooses which one is based off of. And after picking one of the points, they are based on what modes? 1 through 5 is easy, 6 through 9 is normal, and 10 is hard because that's in easy mode. 1 through 4 is easy, 5 to 7 is normal, and 8 to 10 is hard in normal mode. Number last one. After picking a point, it will give it a difficulty to what answer you're getting. Now, apparently though, this is a bigger problem, because every single time I pick a point though, somehow it's been causing a looping problem. And that looping problem keeps bugging me over and over and over. So this was more advisable that because though that Room B has to have it in RPG Maker, I had it set to 4 of the events. An off switch, an A switch, B switch, and C switch. Each of these referentiates from the RPG Maker of what I did. So whenever I set it to off, it goes to the points category. If it's set to A, it's an easy category. Excuse me. If it's in B, it's in normal category, and in C, it's hard category. But apparently this is the real problem here. If there's no proper switch to either one of those, the game will be forced in a loop, which is an auto run. After picking a point, it goes back to the points category and one of them gets taken away. Was this patch? Yes, it was. I had to patch it up though to find the real problem. Now let's go to bug problem number 2. Answer not displaying though. As you can see, after picking a switch, after picking a point, it goes to one of the answers, and because it's random, it's an RGN, 1 through 50. The Mario categories actually has too many of them, so I had to be very limited to it. So first off, it runs at a random number, and then what it does, it finds the number to match the RNG. After finding that number, it finds the number, found it right away, then it displays the answer. But this is where it gets really confusing. Because naturally though in the RNG, if it does not find the correct number display, it will go back to the point, or it will go straight back to room A. So if I don't actually pick this problem coding of why it keeps looping though, it's going to go back to the point choices. Or it will go back to room A. That's been a nasty bug I had to try and fix. Was this actually patched? It was patched up till later, and I'll get to that to the reason why. But if you have this one already, it's still not debugged yet, even though you might be lucky. Try and actually consider C or the 10th answer points last. Because I haven't actually updated it just yet, but I'm going to update it right now and see if I can put that with roulette mode. Now we'll get to bug problem number 3, the room loops. This has been the bugging problem for decades that I have trouble with. As you can see, it plays like how they normally do in Jeopardy. You pick a point, whichever difficulty you get. After that's done, you get straight to the category, to what difficulty it is. Displays the answer, pick the answer correctly or incorrectly, you'll go back to room A. The problem is this. So after you pick the answer correctly or incorrectly, it will loop back to where its original category is, back to the state category. It does not go to the points, it doesn't go to room A. It will do another display answer, and that's where the root problem is. Sorry, I'm actually just having a mint gum right now. And if it continues doing this, I might be in the same loop over and over and over. Was this patch? Actually, yes. I have what is called a fail-safe. So after the switches, wherever you're in, gets turned off, you will be out of that room, and you will go straight to room A. So you're right out of there for good, so that way you do not have to go through that loop over and over. That's how bug testing works, so you want to create a fail-safe just in case. So the bug problems I found though are actually from 3 of them. They are the switch, category name, and the category variable. Each of these have always been some sort of hindrance even when it comes to bug coding. We're going to start with the switches first. So the switch category is the lines of how this works. You want to actually create a failsafe for this medication because we're in a point system. What I did though is after the player has chosen one of those points, it will go to that category room, easy, normal, or hard. Then one of the switches from A, B, or C gets turned off. Next plays an RGN. After it completes it, or the player has picked it as select correct or incorrect, it will try and go in a loop, but the game will notice that the switch has been turned off, and if it will go around the loop until it finds the switch that is not A, B, or C. When it does, it will go to room A, and you're finally out of that loophole. A loophole to where it's not like a lawyer reading the notes. No, this is different. This is more like lines of you're going to be stuck in that loop for eternity. Endless loop. So next one is category name. This is the one that's been bugging me for decades. So category name is the lines of where it tells you what category name you have in there. So after it plays an RGN, it displays the category, and it goes in RGN, and apparently after it stops, it picks one of the category names that matches from its RGN. When it does, it will display the answer. However, this is the one that's been causing me problems. So every single time I look through the inspections though of doing roulette mode, several categories of the RGN were not matched. And that's been causing me problems. So if I'm not too careful or refix it though, I might actually make it worse. Two reasons. One is that what happens though is that apparently the category will have a wrong name. So occasionally I have like two categories that are very different. If they're not exactly the matching category for the RGN, it's going to look around cluelessly. The other is misspelled. So I have to actually match these correctly though, because if I actually put it in the wrong category name, it's going to go cluelessly and actually go to a failsafe. And that's the real problem. Now lastly is the category variable. So what it does is, after the RGN, it matches to which number it goes to, and then it will display it. Has this also been a bug? Actually it does. How can it cause bugs? There are two occasions though. Run it, but there are some occasions. One is the wrong number, which is the lines of if you put them at the same number, you're probably making it a lot confusing. It's not like a random number to do whatever it wants. No, this is a number that looks the same, but it can't tell apart. Number two, if this category variable number is missing. So if there's a missing number, good thing I have a checklist just to actually try and fix it though, so that way it can correspond to what the number is. That way it can be in order. And lastly, the wrong order. Once again, I have a checklist. So if it's not organized, and it goes to RGN and it does not look for the number, that means you found a bug. So I'm going to do some patching up to the game. That way it can be fixed up though and nice and clean. So that way I don't run into bugs again. Also, after this presentation, I'm going to do what's called a challenge mode presentation. The one that everyone's been waiting for. Thank you all very much for watching. I do apologize if this is a bad presentation, if it's a presentation about bug issues. That's why I'm going to be fixing it though. So, see you guys in challenge mode.